Bill, you can still hear me, right? Okay, now it says the webinar has started. That should let people in. 37, uh, 38.
42 participants. So I'm ready. So
Yeah, I'm not hearing Rebecca, so I'll just go ahead and get this thing started and then try to disappear because I'm not sure if Rebecca's on. But for the guests who are here now, that's up to 54, can you please put your name and where you're from in the chat and something, anything, what business you're involved with, so we can see who's here. We're having a little minor technology challenge. Hopefully, you can hear me and put something in the chat so we know you're hearing us. And uh, and Rebecca, who's supposed to be moderating, is having a technical issue, so I'm covering for now. But let me see. It looks like you're putting some stuff in the chat. That means you are hearing us. Thank you. Yeah, who you are, possibly where you are, and what type of business, if you have one that you want to say. And then at some point we can look down at that. All right. So again, we're doing Plan B. I'm Peter Safer. It says Charlotte Administrator, but I'm involved in the webinar. So I'm covering at the moment for Rebecca, who's having a technology issue, and welcoming you to the SCORE webinar, which is for Simple Steps 1. And Bill Bundy is one of our esteemed mentors, going to be making the presentation. And then Barbara from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library also will be giving a portion of the presentation. So we'll give it another minute for everybody to say hi in the chat. It looks like there's about 58 participants, give or take, right now. And in a moment, then Bill will start with the slideshow. Can can you confirm, somebody in the chat, confirm you can see the first slide that says simple steps for starting your business, session one? Can somebody confirm you can see that? All right, that's good. All right. And then are you able to see or hear Bill? Can you say hi, Bill?
good evening, everybody. I hope you can
Somebody
hear me.
Okay, that's looking good. All right. Well, again, I'm not sure where Rebecca is, so I'll sort of make the introductions. Bill Bundy is one of the exceptional mentors in the Charlotte Score chapter. I actually had the privilege of onboarding him myself, but Bill actually knows quite a bit about business that I don't know. So you're lucky to have him tonight. He's quite knowledgeable and he has a gentle hand, but he's very serious about business. The Charlotte chapter is hosting tonight, and if you have a SCORE mentor, we congratulate you. If you don't have a mentor and you would like one, it's a free service with experienced volunteers, such as Bill and myself. And you can go to score.org/Charlotte if you want the Charlotte chapter, or you can go to just score.org and click on Find a Mentor. It's a free service, and we can help you, guide you. We don't do consultation. We're not doing the work for you, but we will guide you and help you to stay on the right path and avoid costly mistakes, that kind of thing. So we welcome you all here. And I think in the interest of abbreviation, I'm going to turn it over to Bill Bundy, who is going to be presenting tonight. And I'm going to mute and turn my face off.
All
So
right.
have a good session.
All right. Peter, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to work with you, and I've been really excited about doing this. I'd like, before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit briefly. I have been in your shoes. I started a business from scratch in 1989, having no experience in this business whatsoever. So I can identify with many of you who are either in the process of starting a business or have already started a business and you want to learn more about what you can do to grow it. So hopefully my experience can help you, and I am look forward to sharing some of my experience with you as well as some more things about SCORE. So without further ado, I'm gonna move over to the next slide and get started. Let's see here if I can get it to do that. Well, for some reason it is not moving over. Okay. Peter, I am having a little
I
challenge
think
with.
Hopefully if can you hit the right arrow, there it
Yeah,
is.
that it is. Okay, all right. Um, because we have about 65 participants today, we're not going to be able to spend much time talking about your name, your business, or what you want to learn for today. So I'm hopeful that all of you are interested in wanting to know what's involved in starting a business, or if you've already started one, what you can do to work a little bit more about helping to get your business on the right track. Okay, there we go. Peter mentioned a little bit to you about SCORE. By the way, SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives, and we are all volunteers. Many of us have been in business for ourselves and started a business, so we know what you're going through. The primary things that we do at SCORE is all of us or many of us are, or all of us, I guess, should say, are mentors. In other words, we work one-on-one with people who need assistance, and we gladly do that because we enjoy working with you and helping you with the business plans and other aspects of it. In addition to that, we also do webinars, and this is an example of that. This is what's called Simple Steps number one, which is the first webinar that we do, and then there are other webinars which we'll be discussing. In addition to that, we also have what we call community outreach events, where we have get-togethers where people who are interested in and who are new to business can get together and share some of their ideas and meet other entrepreneurs, because it always helps when you have the opportunity to see and be with other people. Um, so that's that slide. Okay. For some reason, I'm having a hard time advancing slides. So uh, let's see. I'm hitting Peter. I'm hitting the arrow. For some reason, it is not going through. Okay, let's see if there's another way of advancing errors.
You're on the one that says about SCORE services. Have you finished that one?
Yeah, and I
Okay, you're
keep
on.
hitting.
You're on. Owner skills and time management.
Okay, all right, Peter, I'm hitting the button and it doesn't on my computer, and it's not seeming to advance. So I may need for you to help me with that. Um,
So far, so good. You could also try enter, but I'm also technology question mark.
okay, all right. So when we're looking at the next slide, I'm looking at is owner skills and time management. All of us come into business with various different backgrounds, or many many of us are working for another company, and we are interested in wanting to go in business for ourselves. Um, and one of the things we all realize is that we do not have skills of everybody doesn't have all the skills that you need. So there's some things that you can do in order to bring people on board to help you. If you can't afford to hire them, there are outside resources. So the best thing that I found is that I have to examine what are my strengths and my weaknesses. What are the things that I can do and what I can't do, and what can I delegate? And if I have a spouse or I have a partner or friend that can help me, it's always good to be able to bring somebody in to help. Okay, let's see if I can hit enter, see if that works. Okay. All right, for some reason it doesn't want to advance. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. We are just having challenges with advancing. Let me see. Okay.
There you go. Other critical
Yeah,
factors.
there you go.
All right, that looks like that's we're back. Okay, I see we've gotten way ahead of ourselves. I see what we need to do now. Sorry, folks. Um, I think I found out how we can advance now. So, okay, now we go. All right, now, so SCORE chapters are, um, we have SCORE chapters all over North Carolina. Peter, Rebecca, and I happen to be in the Charlotte chapter, but as you can see at this slide, we have chapters all over North Carolina. So depending upon where you're located, um, you can enter your zip code and then you can find your chapter. So there we go. Now let's see if we can get into some more detail here. Now, here's what we call the process roadmap. We have essentially we've got three different types of seminars that we offer. What we're in right now is that we are in session number one, Startup Basics. So there are two other sessions. One is called Brand Concept and Marketing, and the third thing is Financial Matters and Funding. It is both of these, brand concept and marketing, is focusing on you've got this great idea, you want to take this great idea, you're thinking about starting a business, but then you've got to decide, okay, who am I going to market this product to? Who is going to be interested in my services? And then how do I make myself known to people? So this is marketing. It's real key. You can build the best bridge widget in the world, but if you don't get it out and get it recognized and get people to find out about it, you're not going to be able to sell it. And then thirdly is the matter of financing. In other words, in order to get started, you've got to be able to have some amount of money lined up. If you're going to keep your job, if you have a job already, you want to keep that job, uh, then to help pay for your existing personal bills at home, and you want to do the business on the side, you still got to have money lined up to get that business going. Or if you do like I did, which is that I left my other job completely altogether and started in a new business, which some people would say was just absolutely crazy. You've got to have money to pay your bills, or you got to have somebody available to help fund your bills while you're starting up. So we'll be talking about that in more detail. So it's critical that you have a business plan and you'll be working with your mentor on that. And we'll guide you and help you as you prepare your plan for your business. And then the critical next thing, and this is probably one of the scariest decisions you have to make is, okay, am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? Am I going to go ahead and leave if I'm thinking about leaving my existing job, am I going to do that, or do I want to say, the time is not right for me right now to go in business for myself, so I'll just have to wait until later to do it. So that's a critical decision. But we want to encourage you, even if now is not the right time to do it, we want to encourage you to continue the concept and continue thinking about it and planning it for, because the people at SCORE we are all bullish on entrepreneurship, and that's what makes our economy grow. So hopefully we can help you to get to the point where you can decide at some point to go ahead. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, what we're going to work on today is workshop benefits, myths and realities of entrepreneurship, critical success factors, know your options, components of business ownership, making it legal, uh, business plan basics, and including library data insights. We have Barbara Gwynn with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, and I will say that the library can be a very comprehensive source of information to help you find out about your competitors in the industry, about just industry statistics, and I think Barbara's going to be touching on that. Um, Self-assessment. In other words, finding out what it is, what you're good at, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and then we're going to be focusing on next steps. Um, okay, let's go to the next slide. All right. Also, we're going to help you develop your feasibility plan, take you through the decision-making process, and some of the things we just mentioned a minute ago. All right, myths and realities of entrepreneurship. And first of all, as an entrepreneur, you won't have to work hard or put in long hours. And I can tell you from personal experience, that is a real myth. You've got to put in a lot of time and effort, not only in preparing to go in business, but also once you go into business, trying to get your business off the ground and helping it to get started. Okay, myth number two, my product service is unique and there's no competition. I have rarely since seen a situation where there is no competition. You may have to research it some, but just about always you're going to find somebody else that's doing what you're doing. Maybe not quite as uniquely as what you're doing, but there always is going to be competition. Uh, Number three, business owners can deduct everything, so you won't have to pay taxes. That is not true. You can deduct business related expenses, such things as travel for business, such things as purchasing of inventory, such things as of buying supplies, such things as paying yourself a salary if you're going to do that. But there are some things that you cannot deduct, and that's where you need to talk to an accountant about what you can deduct and what you cannot deduct. Um, as a business owner, you won't have a boss. And let me tell you something. And again, a lot of this is based on personal experience. The number one boss that you have as a business owner is your customer. You have to constantly focus on what kind of service quality can you do in order to make sure that you continue to get repeat business or you can get referrals from your customers. You also may have, in addition to your customers, you may have a spouse who gives you suggestions or a partner that gives you suggestions on your business. But the most important thing is always remember that the customer is your boss. And if you keep that focus in mind, it's a very important thing. Uh, Myth number five, business owners get to do whatever they want to do. I will just tell you that you will spend it, particularly at first, you'll spend a lot of time working in the business. And I'm not just talking about working from 9 to 5. I will be talking about you'll be working in the evenings, some on weekends. You want to do what you can in order to get that business up and going. Okay. And by the way, I can't, while I'm going through this, I'm not able to look at the chats. So hopefully I will be able to get to that when we get through the presentation to answer any questions you may have. Okay, I skipped a page. I'm going to go back to, well, it goes from number 9. My page goes to number 11, and somehow number 10 got knocked out. Let me see where that is. Okay. Well, anyhow, page 11 says, typically, page 10 said that normally after 2 years, 75% of all businesses succeed, and 25% fail. Now, after 5 years, the percent of new businesses, and again, we're talking about 2+ employees, the percent of new businesses, 50% succeed, 50% fail. And that information comes from the SBA Office of Advocacy, frequently asked questions about small business. And the fact that you are attending a SCORE webinar, the fact that you're taking the time to do this will increase the likelihood of your success. So let me just say this. When I started my business, I did not sign up with SCORE, didn't utilize my services. And looking back on it, I wish I had. So I commend you for wanting to do what you're doing right now. Okay, page 12. Some of these things are very, very important as far as, in fact, all of these things are very important as far as starting a business. Number one I think, is education, experience in the field, particularly experience. Hopefully, if you are thinking about getting into a business, you've either worked for another company that's been doing what you are doing right now, and you know something about it, um, or you have the ability to go to work for somebody in this particular business so you can get some experience. Uh, Jumping out of one business and getting into another without any experience oftentimes really leads to failure. For example, somebody may be working as a in a working as a in a manufacturing job or working in some kind of other field, and they decide that they'd like to open up a restaurant because they like food. Well, the fact is that even though they like food, the fact is that they haven't had experience in the restaurant industry before. Uh, is very, very difficult to get up and going. So education and experience in a field is so very important. Also, strong work ethic. You've got to be able to, this is not a 9 to 5. You've got to be willing to work hard, spend a lot of time in it. Effective time management. You got to realize where you want to put your priorities are. Ability to manage and multitask. I used to joke with people that, my job in running a business is that I had to go out and try to get customers. I also had to pay the bills. And then also at the end of the day, I had to vacuum the office and I had to empty the trash can. So as a small business owner, you've got to be able to do a lot of different things. Willingness to ask for help and taking advice from others. Um, that is, you don't have all the answers. And sometimes you need to talk to an attorney, you need to talk to an accountant. Both of those are very good advisors. And as we've talked about before, you need to talk to your SCORE mentor. That's very important. Don't feel like you know all the answers. And then finally, adequate capital. And that's what I've seen as one of the major reasons why businesses fail, is that people go into business without adequate amount of money to help them get started. And we're going to go into more detail on that a little bit later. Okay, next slide is, so these are some of the things that you need to have for financial resources in order to get started. You've got to have money for tools and equipment. You've got to have money for leasehold improvements. Okay, first of all, what is leasehold improvements? Leasehold improvements is if you are renting, let's say you want to set up a gift shop, for example, and you found an ideal place strip shopping center that you want to set up your gift shop. Well, you go in that building and you realize, this is really nice, but I'm going to have to make improvements to this existing space to make it more attractive and beneficial for my customers to want to come in and see it. So I'm going to have to spend money, or I'm going to have a contractor come in and spend money to make improvements to my space. So that's what we refer to as leasehold improvements. And of course, you got to have money set aside in order to make those improvements. Licenses and permits. Typically, what most people have to get when you go in business is you have to get depending upon what business that you're in, just about everybody has to get a business license. And you have to pay for that. There can be certain taxes depending upon where your business is that you have to have. Professional fees. Again, it's so important to be able to have professional advisors. The most important advisor, I think most important advisors are your attorney and your accountant. Those are the ones you need to get started. Inventory, you have to have. Um, you've got to buy your inventory. If you, for example, we talked about a gift shop a few minutes ago. Well, you've got to be able to have some merchandise and you've got to be able to pay for that merchandise up front. So you got to have money to do that. Uh, and then working capital reserve fund. What we're talking about is money that you have in your bank account to carry you over, not only for business expenditures, but if you're thinking about if you're thinking about leaving an existing job, you got to have some money to pay your personal bills at home, unless you have somebody that is there to help support you till you get your business up and running. Okay, number four. Um, can your family survive the startup phase uh, and I cannot see that, but the existing cash flow? You know, you know, most of the time when people start a business, they are taking a cut in pay um, because you can't expect to make the same thing right away that you did with the existing prior job. So, uh, can you frame, is there some way else? Do you have the existing cash to do that? Are you able to pay your monthly financial expenses at home? What can I cut back on? If I have uh, some existing expenses that I can cut back on, can I do that in order to save money? What about your debt? I mean, you've got many people you may have monthly rental expenses, may have a mortgage payment you got to pay, credit card bills, all those things you've got to factor in and make sure you can cover all those. How much money do you have in savings? We mentioned that a minute ago to cover you for at least 6 to 12 months of expenses. All right. All right, now let's look at our options. Okay, now we're going to talk about an area that, let's see if I can move this down. Uh, Starting a new business from scratch. Now, here is certain things. There's always advantages and disadvantages of starting a new business from scratch. You're not hampered by previous reputation or technologies for about an existing business. You're able to choose your own location, your name and your logo, build your own relationships, you're able to explore new markets and new directions. Okay, the disadvantages, and these are something that you need to really factor in, is that there is no existing customer base. In other words, you've got to start from scratch building up a customer base. you are taking a larger risk when you're starting a new business from scratch. And because you don't have any track record, it's more difficult to obtain financing. So, um, and I think we have found that people who start a new business from scratch, there's a much higher rate of failure than you would be if there are several other ways to do it. Okay, next slide. Okay, now my business was, I started a business where I helped people to buy and sell businesses. My business was, I was a business broker. And so I spent most of my time working with people who either want to sell their business or buy their business. So the advantages of buying an existing business are you have an existing clientele and suppliers, you have a known location. Your business is a known quantity with a proven formula and names. And you have the opportunity to review the financial records of the business prior to buying the business to see how accurate those financial records are. And it's important if you do that, you want to review the tax returns of those businesses to make sure that the records that they're filing with the IRS are accurate according to what the tax returns say. Um, and it may be a little bit easier to obtain financing since the business does have a track record. Hopefully, the business that you end up buying may end up having been in business for 5 years or longer. So you've got some period of financial records to review. Now, there are some potential disadvantages. There is, as far as again, I'm having a little challenge. I can't slide this thing over. Let's see if I can do that. So I can see all these distances. There we go. All right. Now, one of the things you want to check out before, if you would think about wanting to buy a business, is that you want to check and see what are the existing debts of the owners. And we can go into a long detail. There is a way to purchase a business where you don't have to assume the debts of the existing owner. Uh, so I won't get into that much detail, but there is a way of doing that. You want to check to see whether or not the business has got a good reputation. A critical thing is loyal to the owner. Some of the customers may be buying from the owner because they really like the owner and they have a good relationship with that owner. So I always advise a buyer who's interested in buying a business that you have to set up some kind of relationship to get the existing owner to stay on for a period of time after the closing of a transaction in order for the owner to introduce you to the existing covenant customers and help you facilitate so that the customers will stay with you. Out of date inventory or transfer issues. You wouldn't believe the situations I used to run into where a lot of the inventory that was bought was expired inventory, and the new buyer coming in had to get rid of it. So it's important that if you're going to buy a business, that you do an inventory count before buying that business to make sure that the inventory is good and in date. We mentioned reputation a minute ago. We mentioned obsolete inventory. Another thing is an employee issues. I would always advise buyers of businesses to see if you cannot talk to the employees ahead of time, if the owner will let you do that in order to make sure that the employees are staying on. So there is then there is no guarantee that the success of a business will continue once you buy it. But if you do your homework ahead of time, if you're able to get an agreement with the owner, if you're able to hopefully talk with the employees, that will contribute to the likelihood of the business continuing. Okay. Now, buying a franchise is another alternative. Now, the advantages of having a franchise is the franchise you have. What you have is that you have the franchisor. The franchisor is the company that set up the franchise. And let's take the one that we're all familiar with is McDonald's. McDonald's is as we all know, is a proven franchise system. Just about every franchise, every McDonald's restaurant that you go in is independently owned and operated, or the owner may own a number of different locations. So the franchisor would be McDonald's corporate, and then they sell existing franchises to the franchisee. There are all different types of shapes and sizes of franchises. And you can check Google. There are different organizations that are set up in order to be able to, that will sell franchises. So you can just Google and find out, for example, cleaning franchises, painting franchises, home improvement franchises, all different types of franchises. So just research it. But most franchises have a proven system that other people have already used up. They provide marketing and sales training. They provide you answers to questions. They provide you location guidance if it's a retail establishment. Where is the best place to set it up? And oftentimes when you have questions about issues you need help, you can consult the franchise. And this is another good thing too, you have access to other franchisees. Typically, you have a list of other franchisees that you could pick up the phone and call them to ask them if you've got a question and you need help. So a franchise can be a good idea. Now, here's some disadvantages for a franchise. Um, First of all, you have to operate within the guidance of the franchisor. That they will give you, that oftentimes they will give you a range of where your territory is, and you cannot go outside that territory. They will oftentimes tell you what inventory to buy. They will give you direction and tell you, and there is a franchise agreement that would spell out all those kind of things. So you're not always your own boss. Also, you have to pay an upfront fee to buy a franchise, and then you have a percentage of your revenue that you have to pay on an annual basis to franchise. So to the franchisor. So that impacts you. And I mentioned a contract a minute ago. So it does limit your, if you buy a franchise and you run that franchise for a number of years and you're interested in wanting to sell that business after you have it established, you may have to get the franchisor to approve who you sell your business to. And if the franchisor has problems, then that will impact you or can impact you. Probably the best example of that is Taco Bell. Look at with the lettuce problems they had, with that lettuce that came in from Mexico. I'm sure that had an impact not only on the corporate franchisor at Taco Bell, but look at I bet that it had problems for just about every franchisee because people were thinking the same thing. So that's one of the factors you look at. All right, home-based businesses. Lower startup costs, growing consumer acceptance to shop online, expanded geographic reach, convenience, accessibility for customers who can shop 24/7, and flexibility for you to do business anytime and anywhere. A number of people are getting into online businesses. Uh, Disadvantages, low barriers to entry, more competition. Consumers have higher expectations and less tolerant of problems. And when you're working at home, there's limited exposure to customers and feedback, so it reduces the personal contact. And I'm sitting here thinking about, and probably the major elephant in the room here is we're talking about people like Amazon being an online business. Um, that's a big elephant that you have to see what does that impact you. Okay. Um, We mentioned home-based businesses. You working from home. I did have an office at one time in my home. It's convenient, less overhead, flexible schedule. You can hire people in the world. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, but sometimes, if you operate out of your house, for example, are you violating a zoning requirement? Um, you're isolated again from others. You're not in an office building or not in a place where people can come see you. And probably the major thing is family distractions. People with home-based businesses, it's not just a 9 to 5 thing. You could be interrupted by other family members who may need something when you're try to work. And I personally remember a situation where I ended up at night, going back to work after supper. So it can be difficult to separate your time with your family with your time from your work. Okay, we talked about that. Um, Now, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about nonprofit because I've never been involved in setting up a nonprofit. So I do know that you need to qualify for what's called a 501(c)(3), which is exempts you from income taxes or sales taxes. So if you're interested in that, you need to talk to a SCORE mentor about that, somebody who specializes in online businesses. Okay, components of owning a business. How many hats will you wear? Well, you're the owner, and you've got certain things that you've got to do administrative wise. You've got things like you've got to get your business license. You've got to uh, set up accounting where you record your revenue, you record your expenses. You've got to, there's just a business license. There are just a number of different administrative things that you have to do. Now, as far as running the business, accounting is a very important part of it. You want to have an accurate record of not only where you spend your money on as far as your inventory, your equipment, what you paid for, but you want to be able to record the money coming in, your revenue, and your money going out. There's some great software packages that are out there for people who are just starting a business. If you're not familiar with QuickBooks, that is one that I see used quite frequently, which enables you to keep an accurate record of what your revenue is and what your expenses are. Human resources. If you're going to hire people, that's a major challenge. How are you going to go about hiring them? How do you try to go to make sure that the person that you're hiring is a person that you're wanting to? If that person is not doing what you want them to do, how do you go about um, uh, either terminating them? That can be headaches. Um, let's talk about the difference between marketing and sales. And marketing is how do you identify yourself? What is the brand of your business? How do you make people aware of what it is and what you do? Sales is a little bit different in that you're going out to try to reach out to your customers, how to advertise, how to prospect, how to reach your customer. So both of these things are critical in order to be able to get revenue. Uh, Customer service also is very, very important. If your customer has a question or is not satisfied with something, what can you do in order to be able to help make sure that your customer is happy? That's critical because you don't want to get a bad reputation because that's going to impact your sales. Production and fulfillment, that basically is if somebody orders something from you, if you are, or if you're making a product, how do you go about producing it? And then how do you go about fulfilling the order? So getting that shipped to the customer. So that's also important. And going along with that is technology. More and more today with uh, technology, with social media, social media. Many of you are very aware of social media being used to market your products and services to get today. I did not have that when I was in my business, but it's a critical way of marketing your business today. And I'm going to leave that for somebody else to talk with you about it that's much more knowledgeable about it than I am. Facilities, you've got to find the right location to pay the rent. You've got to be able to make sure a location, particularly in a retail business, is so very important. Okay, we talked about branding earlier, name recognition, what it is you're going to be providing, what's your product and service. How do you identify yourself to marketing? How are you going to go about who is your advertising? And then one of the things that's really critical is who is your target market? I want to use a term with you that is what you may want to term may want to remember. It's called niche, Niche. In other words, who is exactly the customer you're appealing to? For example, if you're appealing to you want to sell home health equipment. Um, who's your customer? Well, primarily it's going to be people who have been in the hospital who may need some kind of home health equipment. You may be talking about people who are older than a certain age. So you want to try to identify as specifically as you possibly can who your customer is. If you're operating a boutique clothing store for, um, say, um, women, exactly what types of products, what is the income group you want to market to? How do you go about reaching that consumer? How do you identify that? How do you determine what is the type of product that particular customer wants to buy? So, uh, what is your unique selling proposition? Who needs your product or service? Why do they need it? And then how is it different or better than the competition? Very critical. Okay, under marketing, we talked about this a little bit bit ago, but there is another seminar called the Marketing Plan that you should take. And we have mentors within SCORE who are really good at marketing and creating a brand awareness. Um, so image, building your brand, building your logo is a very important thing. Um, it One advantages again of having a franchise is that franchisors can help you with having a brand awareness or marketing. So if you are starting a business from scratch, you need to get somebody to help you with that website, your logo, your brand. How are you going to go about uh, marketing your image to potential customers? Again, we mentioned sales other previously. As I mentioned to you previously, my business was a business where I went out and I found business owners who were interested in wanting to sell their business. So first of all, what did I have to do? Well, I had to try to research and I had to go out and try to find business owners who were interested in wanting to sell their business. So I had to identify who my potential customers were in my target market, and then I would have to go out and reach out to them, find those prospects. I'd have to make presentations to them. And then once I made a presentation, I had to then what I would say would be prepare a bid agreement to them to help them understand what my services would be. And then probably the most important thing in sales is to be able to close the deal. And by closing the deal, what I'm really talking about is how do you ask for the order? What do you do once you prepared the presentation to that customer, and what's the next step in order to get them to ask them to sign the order and begin so you can begin to process the order. So sales is much more than just you have to go through a process of uh, what we've outlined here in order to get the order. We've talked about this a few minutes ago about time management and skills. We won't go over that again. Again, we talked about business location is important. Now, let's also talk about the price of your product or service. Now, it's oftentimes tough in order to figure out uh, how do you go about pricing your product. You know, one of the things that one of the mistakes that I've seen made quite frequently is people say, well, I'm going to compete based on price. In other words, I'm going to try to quote the price of my product and service cheaper than what my competitors have done, so I'll get the business. I talked today, for example, with a, a client who is their revenue is not high enough in order to be able for them to make a living or to make a profit on their business. Their costs are so high that they're not able to bring in enough revenue. So they're going to need to be able to increase the prices of their products in order to bring in to make a profit. So you have to think in terms of what am I going to be able to provide, and what is the value that I am able to create in order for the customer to be able to be willing to pay the price they want. Customers oftentimes are willing to pay higher for a price if they think uh, they can get what they pay for by paying a higher price. Don't always think that you ought to be the lowest cost provider. Look at what your competition is. And that's, again, is part of the research you should be doing is what is your competition charging? Do you want to be at or equal to your competition so that uh, uh, you're not losing revenue? Credit terms and discounts. Sometimes people will, instead of you may be able to give them opportunity to uh, pay you over time. That's what's referred to as accounts receivable. They can pay you within a certain time period. Or depending upon, you may want to take a credit card or give them some kind of discount in order to pay early. I've seen that happen where, for example, you may give somebody a 5 or 10% discount if they will pay early as opposed to waiting 60 to 90 days or even longer in order to pay. So that, again, looking at your competition and looking to see what they're doing is a way of doing it. Understand your competitors. We talked about the size and operation of your employees, price and quality, the services that your competitors provide. What are the strengths and weaknesses and the reputation of your competitors? Uh, in the case, if you have the opportunity, if they have a retail business, for example, you want to go in and take a look at it, look at what they price on their products, look at how do they look, how do their employees talk to you, how is their customer service. Um, Suppliers and contractors also is so very important. What kind of relationship you want to have good suppliers that can provide you inventory in a timely manner. If you are subbing out part of your business to somebody else, can you rely on them to provide that service and quality? How does that impact your own business by these contractors you're supplying out? And so how do you convince your consumers of to do business with you? So understanding your competitors and thinking through as a part of your business plan, what is the competitive edge that you offer that your competitors don't offer? Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of business organizations. Now, I would suggest to you that you involve an attorney to help you. Excuse me. I would suggest that you involve an attorney to help you with deciding what type of business organization to set up. Uh, the most common type of organization for new business startups is a sole proprietorship. That's where you are the individual owner, and then all of the revenue and all the expenses flows through to you personally, and then you would file on your personal tax return some information about what your revenue and expenses are. This is the simplest thing to do. It's easy to set up. One of the major challenges about a sole proprietorship is if for some reason you end up getting sued, then there is no legal protection against you, but in the case of a lawsuit. So they would sue your personal assets, your home, your car, all your other personal assets. So that's a thing that you need to talk with carefully with an attorney about. A partnership is where you take on a partner and the other partner owns some of the business and you own some of the business. Um, Partnerships can be good, particularly if you have one set of skills and your other partner has another set of skills, and you all can work together and let the partner do the things that you're not good at, and then you focus on the things you can do. One of the challenges I've seen in the past is a 50-50 partnership. The difficulty with the 50-50 partnership is that there's a partnership partners can get at loggerheads with each other, and therefore it's difficult to make decisions. So be wary about that. It's always good to have one partner own at least a majority, at least 51%, so we know where the buck stops with. A limited liability company or an LLC is a legal entity that will provide you with some legal protection. I'm not going to get into detail on that. A C corporation, I will say, with a limited liability company, the profits and losses of the business flow through to you, but you do have some liability protection there. But then you personally pay taxes through an LLC. A C corporation is where the corporation itself pay taxes. So you're not, the corporation pays taxes, and then you end up having to pay taxes on the earnings that flow through to you. An S corporation is somewhat similar to an LLC in that the corporation itself does not pay taxes, but the profits of the business flow through to you personally. So again, you need to talk with your attorney and with your accountant. But the benefits of having one of these things is that you do have a certain amount of legal protection in the event you get sued. Okay, we mentioned 32. We've already talked about that briefly. Um, other things you need to talk to, again, business licenses is most common things that you need to focus on when getting into business. Uh, Labor laws is there are certain things as far as minimum wage you have to be concerned about. There are things like paying time and a half overtime pay. There's regulations about that. Um, Depending upon the size of the business, you may not have to qualify for federal uh, labor laws, but you need to qualify for state labor laws. Immigration laws, of course, we all know, we've all read about this. Um, there is a form right now called an I-9 form that you should have each of your, if you hire employees, that you want to make sure that they can show you some documentation there that they're legally able to work in the U.S. They've got either a green card or some other kind of ability to be able to work in the U.S. Uh, as we all know, there are a number of people working in the U.S. who are not here legally, and that can create employees. You may end up losing employees, or it could have impact on your business. So that's certainly something you need to look into. Um, Payroll taxes, IRS and Social Security withholding. If you have people working for you, and I'm going to branch off this a little bit. Typically, there are two types of ways that you can hire somebody. One is pay them as a contractor, where you're paying them typically a certain amount to provide that you provide a service for them. Uh, as a contractor, uh, you would pay them a lump sum or could be a whatever way of doing it. The challenge is that the IRS, the other way of doing it is having them be as an employee of your company. If they are as an employee, you have to deduct uh, payroll taxes, you have to match Social Security payments, you have to pay quarterly payroll taxes. So there's a lot of work involved in having employees. Now, the question many people might say is, okay, if I if I have a if I why don't I just make everybody a contractor? Well, if that's the case, you can do that, but the IRS, if they audit you and they come back and say, no, this person should be an employee and not a contractor, then it is you could be liable for back Social Security and back overtime and other things. So that's a critical thing. Okay, insurance again is another important thing. Property insurance, liability insurance, motor vehicles. It's so important that you have insurance set up, health insurance, life insurance, liability insurance. You need to talk to an insurance agent to make sure that you are properly insured. Again, if you have vehicles and your vehicles are involved in a wreck, you want to make sure that you're adequately insured. If you have somebody sues you for liability reasons, you want to make sure you're adequately insured for that. So that is so important. Okay, business plan. Again, this is something that you can and work with your SCORE mentor about. Um, a business plan basically is you sitting down on a piece of paper talking about what is the business you want to get into, how are you going to go about marketing it, who's going to be your customers, how are you going to, what kind of financing am I going to need, where am I going to get that money? Do I have it on in my own pocket? Do I can I go to an outsider? Can I go to a family member to get money? Can I borrow it from a lender? Um, how can I create my a niche for this unique business? So a business plan is a very important, it forces you to sit down in writing and prepare a document on what you would like for your business to be. It includes a table of contents, an executive summary, the scope of the business, which is what is the business you want to get? Again, you want to be as specific as possible about your business, what it is, how you want to go about marketing it, who is your customer. All these things are part of the marketing plan. Financial forecast. Now, this is where you want to be able to forecast over the first, and you should do this on a month to both basis. What do you forecast your your income to be, your revenue over a period of months and years? Now, this is hard to do when you're getting started, but you need to think in terms of what do you forecast? What do you think your revenue would be? Try to be as realistic as possible about this because you hopefully you could be in a situation where uh, your 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 revenue and expenses and therefore your profits will be greater than what you forecast. But this is a very good planning tool to help you move forward and getting your business started. And then your supporting data in order to support this business plan. Um, every owner needs we mentioned a lawyer, accountant, a banker, insurance agent. We've talked about that. And of course, your SCORE mentor to help you. Now, one of the things, we're getting to the point where we are thinking about, am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? We need to do our own self-assessment of what we indicate or what are our strengths and weaknesses and what can we do to sit down and really assess, are we ready to do this? And then what will it take to do that? So there is a questionnaire that is available. And Barbara, I think, is this something that you want to jump in and talk about right now with the library?
About the assessment?
Yeah, well, I'm mentioning about this. Let me go to the next page then. I'd love for you to be able to mention the resources. Why don't we do this before we get into the assessment? Why don't you talk about the resources that the library has to offer for a potential business owner?
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and share my stuff. Hold on a second. And everybody seeing that okay?
Um, I can't see that.
You cannot.
Yeah, no, but they can. So
They can.
somebody's
Okay,
they can. So go ahead.
great.
Yeah,
All right.
Barb, I
So
can see it. This is Peter. I can see it showing.
great. Great. So tonight I am going to talk about some library databases that will help you get info and data for your business plans, find competitors, find customers, and some personal development resources. All of If you are a Charlotte Mecklenburg card holder, all of these are free to you with your library card. Any Mecklenburg County resident can get a library card for free because we are supported through property taxes. If you do not live or own property in Mecklenburg County, there is a $45 per year per household um, charge to have a library card with us. However, a lot of these resources are ones that are going to be available through your own library system. So you may not need our library card. You just need your own library card from wherever you live. So let me start showing you some of the fun and exciting things that we have that you have already paid for with your taxes. So we are going to talk about the gaps that you can fill with our resources. The first one we're going to look at, and tonight we're going to pretend that we're going to have a pet supply store. So that is my business. My business is to have a PetSmart-ish boutique pet store. So that's where I'm coming from with my resources today. So the first database, and let me share this with you in the chat, is available through NC Live. Your tax dollars at work through the North Carolina General Assembly have paid for a suite of databases that you have access to if you have a library card anywhere in North Carolina. So you would go to nclive.org and you can use a few of these databases. Some of them are ones that my library system is paying for additionally, but I'm going to give you a list of all the ones that are available first off for free with a North Carolina library card from public or academic, doesn't matter. Community college, whatever. All of you guys if you will have access remotely as well. So you just log in from home in your pajamas from your couch with your library card to access these first ones. The first one we're going to look at is ABI Inform. Oh, before we go there, NC Live is a suite of databases. There are 90 databases available through NC Live, and it's not just for business, it's for business support. So for example, if you are serving an immigrant community or hiring from an immigrant community, they have language learning resources in there. It's called Transparent Language Online so that you can learn a new language. Or if your staff members want to learn English, they can also learn English through Transparent Language Online. There's an entrepreneurship database that has videos from MIT's Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Sloan School of Management, and they have articles and sample business plans. So it's a huge suite of databases that are available to you from free. I'm not sure what South Carolina offers. You would need to check with visit your own library first to find out what South Carolina makes available to their residents. So you have access to all kinds of databases on all kinds of stuff, not just stuff you would use, but for example, if you have a child in school, perhaps they need some resources for their homework or their their paper they're writing or whatever. So ABI Inform is the first one we're going to visit, and that one gives you research on your type of business. You can do an industry survey on your particular kind of business. So I've got information like the industry growth ratings, the forecast for my industry, critical issues and challenges, trends and opportunities in this article that is going to be about the pet services, the pet care services industry. I want to point out to you down here at the bottom left-hand corner, there's something called a NAICS, N-A-I-C-S code down here in the bottom, and then SIC code. If you are opening up a business, I would really, really encourage you to find out what those numbers are. And those are kind of like Puffs versus Kleenex. They do the kind of the same thing, but there are two different numbers. So if you have a restaurant, for example, the NAICS number might be 1234. The SIC code for a restaurant might be 4567. It's a number that is assigned to a type of business, and I would get both. Also, your business could have multiple SIC or NAICS codes because, for example, Walmart. Walmart has a bakery. That's one number. They have the auto center. That's another number. They sell women's clothing. That's another number. They have, the pharmacy. That's another number. If the Walmart down the street could have 20 or 30 of these numbers assigned to them because they do all those lines of business. So find out what your business number is. This will help you with your research later on, and it will certainly help you with the next database that we're going to visit. So this one is ABI Inform, and it does industry research. The next one we're going to visit is called Data Axle Reference Solutions. So what I would use this one for is to find out where are all the pet stores currently in, for my example, Mecklenburg County, since I'm here in Charlotte. Because I want to know, I don't want to put my pet, Barbara's Pet Store across the street from a PetSmart. I want to make sure that I'm putting it in a place where they don't have a pet store already. So I'm going to use the Data Axle Reference Solutions and perhaps use my NAICS code or my SIC code in order to make sure that I'm looking at the right type of business, because it could be some hairdressing place called Barbara's Pet Emporium and they do dog stuffed animals on your head. I don't know. I want to make sure that I'm getting my kind of business. So we would use those numbers to make sure that we are in the right neighborhood of business. Okay? A right neighborhood of type of business, excuse me. So, and you can use this to find every location of PetSmart. So it's not just the headquarters of PetSmart, wherever that's located. I've got, the 10 that are here in the Mecklenburg County area. Something else another phrase or another
Hi.
acronym I would use it or get accustomed to is an
No, I pressed it and
hello. So I would get to
I
know the
pressed
the
it and
acronym MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Area. So for Charlotte, that would be Charlotte and Rock Hill, Concord, Kannapolis, all of the feeder, um, neighborhoods, not neighborhoods, cities around Charlotte, so that you can do a broader search of where organizations are or companies are that do your same type of business. By the way, Data Axle Reference Solutions can also be used to find your customers. Let's pretend I have created the best pet toy on the planet and I want to sell it to all of the pet stores. Now I have a list of all of my potential customers that I would go to and, show them my fabulous pet toy and get it in their inventory. So you can use it a couple of different ways. You can download these into an Excel spreadsheet. And if you happen to want to do a mailer, you can do a mail merge, create labels out of your Excel spreadsheet. You can do all kinds of things with it. Now, in addition to giving me a list, I can also get a map. Here's where all the pet stores are. So here as I'm looking at this, I can decide where I want to locate my pet store to find or where to distribute my products. So I've got a list, I have a map. Now I'm going to find out, okay, I've got the stores. Now let's look at the people. You've got the database called Social Explorer. In this example, we've used data from the Easy Analytics Software Incorporated, and it includes demographics, consumer expenditures, employment, things like that, those kinds of numbers, so that you can put your pet store where the people are that have pets and want to spend their money. So the darker the shade of orange, the more money is being spent on pet supplies. So if I look at this in table format, you can see down here towards the bottom that almost 400 million has been spent on pets, toys, hobbies, and playground equipment in 2025. So you've got a huge amount being spent. We want to put our pet store where it's going to be. So now I've got some information to work with. I know that there's about almost 4 billion in sales. I know how many competitors there are. I know from my industry research that approximately 70% of households have a pet in Mecklenburg County. And I can use that information to see where is there a pet store desert in the right-hand one, and where are the people spending money on the left-hand one, and use that to decide where to put my pet store. You can also use Social Explorer to identify a likely area. So let's say this is where I've chosen to have my pet store. Now I can break it down by age, and that can help me with deciding how to do my marketing. Do I want to do it on TikTok? Do I want to do it on Instagram? Do I want to do it on Facebook? Depending on my age group, that will help me market to who is on which platform. Because certain age people are on Facebook, certain age people are on TikTok. So we've decided on our audience. What are we going to say to them in these posts on Instagram and TikTok? Well, we can use a database called Masterfile Premier. Masterfile Premier has all kinds of articles that you can reference because you want to use authoritative sources. You don't want to just say, my cousin Bob loves my pet toy. No, you want to use something that is authoritative in your postings. Say, you have a pet? Well, pets do this, that, and the other thing. They are excellent for your health. They will lower your blood pressure or whatever. But that way you can tell them if you want a happy pet and that happy pet will make you have a lower blood pressure, here's what you're going to do. Okay. So that's Masterfile Premier. Now we're going to get into some of the databases that my library system pays for to subscribe to outside of the ones that the North Carolina General Assembly has
Uh,
purchased.
Barbara, can I interrupt just a
Yeah,
second? It's 6:55 and we're scheduled to end at 7 o'clock. So can we kind of wrap it up? I've got a few
sure,
more slides to go, and then
sure,
so we could. And I've read some of the comments, and I want to respond to that. So
sure. So go to your own public library, talk to them. You've got here are some of the databases that I would use if I were in the area to find out what's going on locally. So the Charlotte Business Journal, the Charlotte Observer. One that you might want to take a look at is the Gale Directory Library. A few of the companies that were mentioned in the comments in the chat earlier. You want to know where your people are to um, to get data and information from. So I would use the Gale Directory Library to find a national organization for whatever it is you want to do. So, for example, the National Exercise Trainers Association for the personal trainer person, the National Tutoring Association, or the Teaching English to TESOL, Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. These are national organizations that do surveys and can give you information for what you need for your thing. So Our library system has classes online. Our library system, of course, has all of these databases. You don't have to have a library card to use these databases. If you come into the building, you do have to have a library card to use them remotely. Um, and I'll wrap up there since Bill needs to finish up his portion.
Okay. Barbara, thank you so much. And please utilize your library for a resource if you would, because it got a lot of good information. Okay. Thanks, Barbara. All right. I'm going to kind of quickly go through this, and I have read through the chats, and so I want to respond to a couple of things. Here again is this is your small business readiness self-assessment. I am not going to take the time to go through this, again, this is personal assessment of where you are and whether or not you're ready to begin the process of going to business. Everybody should examine this before you make the decision. Um, uh, Okay, we talked about that, financial matters. Um, let's talk a little bit about financing. Again, one of the critical things that I've talked to you before about is having enough cash up front, either from yourself personally, friends and family, because it's very difficult at the outset to get financing from a lender. There's financing available through Small Business Administration lenders, but oftentimes you have to meet certain criteria. If you are in Mecklenburg County, there's funding that can be available. So there are options. I'm not aware of any grants for-profit businesses. There may very well be, but it's important that you discuss with your SCORE mentor about how you go about getting financing, because we can help you identify potential sources. And I will say that thanks to our sponsor, we do appreciate Charlotte Mecklenburg Library being a sponsor today. And please reach out to Barbara and to the library in order to get the information that you need to help you. Again, this is all part of the business plan. Doing the research ahead of time, getting the information you need will help you determine, help you make an informed decision about starting your business. Now, we do request, I'm not going to show a video right now for the sake of time, but we would request that you look at score.org. We are always looking for donations to help, because even though we receive some funding from the Small Business Administration, we also have to raise our own funds, and it's money that we would request that you donate and help us out some, whatever the amount may be. The only other comment that I want to talk about before we close is that I looked at the chats a few minutes ago, and two things. Number one, somebody said that they were having a difficulty in getting a SCORE mentor. Please reach back out to SCORE again, because we're all looking to try to help folks. And hopefully you will be able to get somebody to help you. Sometimes it may take a little bit while to do that, but hopefully you will be able to get a SCORE mentor to help you. The second thing is, I saw several people mention about artificial intelligence, virtual assistants. That's becoming more and more a bigger part. And oftentimes you can use AI, whether you use things like ChatGPT, or you use Copilot, or you use Claude. There are a number of different virtual assistants that you could use to help you streamline and make your business more efficient. So that is something else that you need to look into if you haven't. So I'm going to wrap up right now. Rebecca or Peter, do you have
Yeah,
any other questions?
I'll stand in. So thank you, Bill, very much, and thank you, Barb, very much. They're very nice, kind, and favorable comments put in the chat. So thank you, audience, for taking the time to give a feedback. And yeah, I think we do wish we had a little bit more time. There are webinars almost every day of the week now. Score National did lose its funding, so that is what the thing that Bill referred to. But they're trying to create a more of a national view. So if you have any difficulty getting a mentor, instead of going to score.org, go to score.org/Charlotte, which will put you in contact with our intake. Score National is actually encouraging people to try to find mentors with expertise in their area. So it's opening up more than it was just a few months ago. And Charlotte will back you up if you have trouble getting help from one of the other areas, or we'll help you get in contact with the nearest chapter. We've got about 90 mentors in Charlotte, and we're busy, but we welcome all new clients in any industry, in any area whatsoever, at any stage of dreaming on to further along. So we're here to help you. We all signed up because we have a sense of wanting to give back, and we think we've had some experience that will be beneficial for you. And then, as Barb pointed out, there's rich resources in our Charlotte-Mecklenburg library system, but they also exist in some of the other library systems. So, as she said, if you're out of town, your fallback position might be to get a Charlotte-Mecklenburg card, but we may be able to help you find a library jurisdiction that you're already eligible for. And we didn't expect you to learn and absorb all of this in one session. This is sort of like an appetizer and the first course meal, but there's a lot more to come. There's more in the series. So we certainly encourage you and welcome you to keep abreast of all the announcements that are coming out from SCORE. If you're not on the mail list, I think you can contact them and ask to be on, although most of you must have been on to get this one. So I think any closing thoughts, but mainly big thanks to Bill and to Barb. And I apologize for the technology, but it's not entirely intuitive. So some of us, I'm on a Mac, some other people on a PC. We haven't quite smoothed it out. I think we got mostly done, but I do apologize for that little hiccup on the technology. So I think with that, it's after 7 o'clock. We appreciate your staying with us so long, but I think we're gonna finish for now. Oh, I know what I'm supposed to tell you. The slides that are shown and a video transcript of this are supposed to come to anyone who registered from one of our two admins. There's one Kim and one Andrea. I don't know how smoothly that's working. I'll try to follow up on it. But I'm Peter Safer at SCORE in Charlotte and Bill Bundy. So if you're not getting the slides within about a week and you remember our names, if you send us an email, we'll track it down and see what's going on there. But everyone who's registered should receive a copy of the slideshow and a link to the video of today's program. I think with that, that's the last thoughts. Barb, any closing thoughts from you? Bill, last thoughts?
None. I'm good. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Barb, I'm sorry to cut you off.
It I
I,
know time was short.
yeah, maybe I was just a little bit too winded. So anyhow, you did a good job. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Okay, bye-bye.